Hi everyone, Sean Healy, change agent and relationship consultant here. Welcome to the Relationship Resourcing Series. This is a series designed to support people in having better quality relationships in the workplace and at home. So welcome to this episode entitled Anxiety-Based Parenting. I thought I'd put this particular episode together because I think there is some really good material on parenting, and there's always resources emerging. However, sometimes I think that the focus is in the wrong place, and so we're not getting a good enough return from some of the techniques that we're employing in our parenting. So this was why I was interested in doing an episode like this, just to throw my hat into the ring and suggest that there are some focuses that will help you more than others. So I might start the episode like this. If you're a business consultant, or let's say you can play along and pretend that you are, when you're going into a business organization to look at the culture and in particular maybe deal with some dynamics that are less than ideal, then your focus is going to be more than likely, how do we take a top-down approach? How do we work with the leadership first and let the changes at the leadership level ramify down through the system? That is likely to be the most efficient approach. We are not likely to come in and work with the people with the least influence and the smallest amount of exposure. Working with them is not likely to have a very strong chance of change ramifying up or even across that particular level of the system. The least influential person in the system is probably the one you're least likely to target if we're talking about working with business cultures. If we take that same process of thought to the family system, is it better and are we likely to get more change by working with the parents or taking technique-based approaches to the children? In particular, one child who we currently deem as not quite hitting the mark or is demonstrating behavioural issues altogether. I'm not saying we don't approach there, but we might do better to start here. When we're recognising that the family is an interlinked system and when treating it as a system, not working just with individuals. And in particular, if we're looking at helping parents manage their own emotional reactivity, we're going to get a lot further than if we're taking a series of techniques that are focused just on modifying the behavior of the child. The child is taking their cues and they are reacting and bouncing off the dynamic that the parent is creating and driving. So we're far better to work with how, as a parent, am I contributing to this dynamic, and the moment I make adjustments there, more than likely my child is reading and responding off me 24/7 anyway, both at a conscious and unconscious level, then we're far more likely to get deep and integrative change rather than trying to force the child to modify without necessarily making any adjustment to self. I hope that makes some sort of sense, but I think the real power in parenting and building resilient, strong children, if that's your aim, is that we are looking at ways in which to manage our own reactivity, and we're not looking at the day-to-day behaviors, but rather we're looking overall at what kind of parent-child relationship do we want to create, what kind of values do we want to instill in children long-term, and what kind of a person are we looking to raise. So we're taking a far bigger picture approach rather than sometimes getting bogged down in the frustrations of the moment to moment. That doesn't mean that those things aren't going to be there. They certainly are. But step one is manage myself, then address my child. So we're not like I said, we're not looking at all these little corrective points. We're more likely to be focusing on the parenting and the emotional backdrop that we're looking to create. Overall, we're likely to get far more power and traction there. And the way that we do that as parents is we first manage ourselves before we manage our children. Why is this the case? Well, if we're setting up a platform where okay, let me change tact a little bit. I'll give you an example. You know, the children are misbehaving and they're getting a bit rowdy, and you storm into the room and say something like, "Righto, I need you all to calm down right now." Now, in your approach, you are not demonstrating the kind of emotional state you want the child to be in. This is a communicationally, this is a tough road because you know, I've got this asymmetrical, jarring style, non-verbal approach in my body language. I've got a very challenging tone of voice that I'm using, and I am certainly not demonstrating how to be calm. You know, so it really is a case of do what I say, not as I do. And children rudely tend to do what we do rather than listen to the words that we say. Like I said, they're emulating all of us and picking up on the beingness, and so we will get a lot more traction if we're focusing on what kind of demonstration we want to be to the children. So if we're walking in and we're going, "Okay, you lot, everybody needs to calm down now." But in that demonstration, I have given the child's conscious and unconscious mind something to navigate towards. And so we are giving children navigation points rather than setting them up with a series of words that they have no true reference for. I'm showing the child what I want the child to do. I'm not just telling the child, because this is a very narrow pathway and there's an assumption that the child knows how to do that effectively, and they don't. So we're helping create space where children can develop their own strategies for emotional modification, but we demonstrate how to modify emotionality, how to respond to situations rather than react. And that's easier said than done, because part of the way in which we do that is we have to allow children to have a certain amount of emotional distress. If we take away, and as parents, we can't sit in the distress that creates, the distress I feel from watching my child in distress. If I'm thinking only in these micro moments, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to rescue that child. And what am I doing? I'm installing long-term helplessness and a deep-seated message that says to the child, all you need to do is wait for a rescuer to come along, play helpless, and somebody will be along to help you. Well, that can work until somebody's not available to do that. Rather than, if we're giving children space to figure things out, we're not rushing in too quickly, and knowing, you know, how do I do that? You know, that is something that you have to learn based off each. If you've got multiple children, that intervention time is going to be slightly different child to child. And so what we're watching for is the, you know, when a child goes into anxiousness and clinginess, or they go into kind of rebellion, and we're looking for those moments where the child is sitting in their own centeredness, and that's the space that we want to really foster. And so as a parent, one of the things that we can do to really kind of set a safe and stable foundation for the child is we are not taking action out of anxiousness or to negate anxiousness, and we're also not taking action out of dominance and rebellion. We're waiting until the system settles, till we're settled, the child's settled. Okay, now we go. Why? Because this promotes, clear, concise thinking, and it minimizes the degree of emotional reactivity, and it puts in place a kind of a generalized principle or strategy for the child that is at a very sometimes covert level that says, how I operate in the world is wait until I'm set. And if others are carrying on and anxious, I don't need to suck that up. I just need to wait. You know, because as a parent, if you're sucking up people's anxiety, if you're reacting to people's anxiety, then this is the lesson that we're giving our children. And I think our world in general is demonstrating massive amounts of emotional reactivity, and you know, we are losing the chance to really connect with each other. We're losing the chance to really hear each other and to be able to have respect for conflicting messages, due to this kind of adolescent, childlike emotional reactivity, that we've never been able to get past. And so if we're reacting from those places, it's less than ideal, and it's certainly less than effective. So the number one thing that I can offer you is to spend more time on focusing on your emotional reactions to situations, and demonstrating to the child how it is to take hold of self, to calm and soothe self, and then to respond and react to the world. And if we can do that consistently, we're going to have days where that's going to be far more demanding to do than others. But as a backdrop and as a profound skill of beingness, you would be well served to really do that. And as a consultant, that's one of the things that I work with in business and in family life, is to help people with their own emotional reactivity. Because if we can change the way we are responding to ourselves and others, then the system cannot not change and make some adjustments. So I hope this has given you some good food for thought. There are some marvelous techniques out there to help and support children and advance children, but I think if we're only focusing on that and not on the emotional reactivity of the parent, then we're missing out on massive opportunities to create the next and support the next generations. So thank you for watching the episode. I hope you found it I hope you found it insightful and given you food for thought. If you've been watching this series throughout the course of it, then thank you very much. My profound gratitude to you. If you're just joining us, please subscribe. It helps the reach of this sort of material, and I'm passionate to get it out there. You can also join me on my podcast medium, Sean Healy Tools, where I look at a lot of the similar sort of stuff, but in the podcast format. That's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean. And of course, come and visit us at the website too, emergencetraining.com.au. I do one-to-one consultations, and I also work with workplace cultures, dealing specifically with people dynamics and how do we create more harmonious workplace environments and get the right people into the right places. So thank you again for watching the episode. My profound gratitude, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode. Till then, bye.